skip. Get ready. It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 150 of the Frame Skip podcast. I am Andie Eller. You probably don't know who I am because it's been approximately 6 months since we last recorded. I'm joined by the coach, Kyle Newman, wearing that Cowboys hat.
Yes, cowboy hat in barracks, deployed. 25 pounds less than last time you saw me.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
A lot of chicken, a lot of salad.
George from Shortbox Summary, is that what we're still saying? I should have asked you that before we went live on this.
Yeah, that's technically still a podcast, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you?
I am great. If I got everything I wanted from a Chinese restaurant, it would probably cost $140 because I'm like, oh yeah, egg rolls do sound good. Oh yeah, some spare ribs do sound good. Oh yeah, some lo mein does sound good. Actually, some shrimp fried rice does sound good. But I found a hack. A new Chinese buffet opened up in a town not close to me, but closer than other towns. And so I went there for lunch. I had delightful.
Nice.
So I'm a little tired. I got to be honest. But man, what an alternative to melatonin, that Chinese buffet. I love it so much.
Dude, so is it like an American style Chinese buffet?
I got so mad because I saw some respectfully husky dude show up and he had like a stacked plate that was like at least 5 inches off the bottom of the plate. And he had like 3 slices of pizza on. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? That's not how you Chinese buffet. Don't get French fries and I'm assuming mediocre at best pizza. Don't do that.
So
you do the Mongolian grill?
Unfortunately, there are not a lot of those in Maine. When I was in San Francisco, I did a lot of Korean barbecue, which was delightful, and occasionally a Mongolian grill.
Yeah. We live in a like hyper fixated like Asian population area where we're at, and so we have amazing like authentic Asian restaurants just everywhere. But I still love like the classic American Asian like standard buffet with like your soy sauce or your sesame chicken and like the little donuts that you get after. I mean, what could be better than that?
There's a time and a place for it, man. Like, I'm not going to pretend McDonald's is like the world's best burger, but sometimes you want McDonald's, you know, like every once in a while you're like, you know what? I actually just want like that super greasy, makes me feel like crap after Big Mac, as opposed to like going to like a steakhouse and getting like an actual legitimate burger. Like, there's a time and a place for it for sure.
Right. So, well, speaking of a time and a place, there's a time and a place right now to return to the Frame Skip podcast. Guys, it has been literally, like I said, I think it was March or April was the last time we did a show. We all had just life stuff going on that kind of prevented us from being on for a while, and it's nice to be back. I'm glad to speak to both of you. Hope all has been well.
I give it about a B. Yeah, it's been pretty solid. Yeah.
That's been an A+. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So I will say I did have a little adventure before I got out here, right? So I'm teaching a math camp during spring break, and one of the people in the unit that I'm deployed with, we were in the unit together. Like, we went to Kuwait together, and the last time the unit went to Kuwait, I backed out because I had to. I had my son's wedding, so I'm not going to miss my son's wedding. So, but anyways, so I'm getting everything ready to go, but the only thing I need to do is take care of one of my teeth. And an American dentist, it would have taken like 2 months to finally pull it. So that next weekend, I went down into Juarez, Mexico, and they yanked that sucker out. So I was good to go. That was all that was keeping me from deploying, was getting my tooth pulled. So I went down in Mexico, and of course, always good food, good times. So
I gotta ask, Coach. I mean, and this is just me being ignorant, but are you like concerned at all when you have a medical procedure done like that in a foreign country?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because the whether it's medical or dental,
yeah,
it's just the same as across the border. In fact, part of our medical benefits, the medical portion of our benefits for the school district I teach at, it's free if you go into Mexico.
Oh,
What?
Yes, it's free.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. So it's really good. Like it's very professional, and they have this huge teeth whitening machine, and you pay like $250, but you go like 4 or 5 times, and it's a procedure. But when I get back home later or I'll probably do it next year, like during the spring when I have some time. But yeah, it's just the same, if not better. So, and it's fun just to go over there and see something different,
So, slight miscommunication. We're also joined by our fourth member here, the one and only Seth Slakehouse, who I thought was not going to be on this episode, and that's a fault of my own. Seth?
I said I was ready. That was my fault. I actually forgot that we do this on Discord now. I was waiting for his Zencaster invite. I swear to God. I was like, he's so late. Why is he so late?
So here's the problem. Because you joined after the call started, I now need to like reframe everything. So Seth, do something for approximately 2 minutes.
Jerk it.
I
Start
was
jerking
not
it.
prepared for this. What am I supposed to do? You want me to do aerobics?
Explain what's in in your bookshelf.
Yeah,
What's on my
what's going on
bookshelf?
back there? What's it?
Yeah.
Compare
Same
your
thing
bookshelves to George's. Let's have a battle.
George has what I believe is an absurd amount of comic books back there.
Hell
And
yeah.
it looks like
brother.
a bunch of high grade Gundams as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of trade paperbacks you got there, George.
I love
the
to
lace
read.
board, though.
Oh, that was my like great grandfather's. Like that's from like the 20s. It is the most comfortable thing in the world. Yeah, it's great.
I would have a basement finished like that if I could. My basement is too low. I can barely stand up in my basement, so I can't really do anything with it. So that sucks. But your basement looks nice there, buddy. You got a lot of space there.
I hope to have you guys up here someday and we can just dork out. I was showing them. I also have like a little nook with a flat screen and a like 36-inch CRT.
Cool.
So I've been playing a lot of House of the Dead on Dreamcast lately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
Got that light gun set up.
What hat you rocking? Is it Patriots?
It is Patriots.
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to the Drake May era. I hope he sits for a little bit. But man, Jacoby Brissett back in blue, baby. I can't wait. Also, I hear Patriots might be getting Brandon Ayuk. So very excited about that possibility.
From the 49ers?
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Can you
think
guys hear
we're.
my dogs?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay.
We can.
I will
yeah,
mute myself
Yeah, we can
then.
hear those bad boys. Yeah. So okay, I think we're good here. So now we've got everybody on. My apologies again for that.
No, that's my bad.
So yeah,
Is
so
his
you can
sound,
just publicly
is his sound
shame
good?
me. I hope so.
Okay,
hope so.
We'll figure it out. All right, that's a fun game for people listening to back to be like, man, I wonder what's that said based on their reactions and how they're responding.
So guys, yeah, I mean it's been ages since we did a podcast. I'm glad to be back. Glad to have you all here. George came up with this idea of just like a catch-up topic, which I loved, which is essentially that we just go through each of us 3 things, whether it's like personal, media related, or just anything at all. 3 things that we've accomplished, done, played, watched, etc. over the past, again, approximately 5 to 6 months that we have not had time to talk about on the show since we've been away. So, George, I want to throw it to you first, obviously, since you came up with this idea. What are 3 things that you've been up to that you're proud of over the past few months here?
Am I doing all 3 or am I just starting with 1 and we're doing a rotation?
Let's do all 3. I think that's fine.
Well, first things first, remember the last time we were talking how I informed you guys that I lost a bet with a buddy and I had to 100% Far Cry 6 before I was allowed to platinum another game. Well, I've got great news for you guys. I only have 2 more trophies in Far Cry 6 to go. That is the most annoying game structure ever. All that DLC is such a cop-out where they came up with one idea and then the entire way they make it take time is just by making you do it 6 times in a row. So there's like the Voss, the Pagan Min, and the other guy whose name I can't even remember, Joseph, the guy from Far Cry 5. They have like these things called like insanity levels, like these introspective levels where it's just like revisiting the game and going through like your failures, your accomplishments, and how the world sees you. And it's cool. It's really cool. And it's like if you die, you like restart and you have to like go back, you lose all your progress and everything. So they kind of made it feel like I guess like a roguelite, right? Like you're just going through trying to do like a complete run. And then to get all the trophies, you have to do it on the hardest difficulty, and at hardest difficulty you have to unlock by doing it on each preceding difficulty. So you're basically just doing the same DLC 4 times in a row, and nothing changes except the enemies become more bullet spongy. So it's really poorly designed DLC, and I hate it. And I only have 2 more trophies, which means I have 2 more missions that I need to do 4 times each. And thankfully, I've got a buddy, my friend Fabio, has been helping me out, and I hope to finally do it this weekend because I am halfway through Final Fantasy III at this point in my Final Fantasy marathon, and boy, do I just want to knock off the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 platinums that are just sitting there waiting for it's like dominoes. I just need to do one thing, and I just unlock all of that. So I am so excited to be back to gaming for trophies because I really missed it.
George, I think I would have faltered from that bet many moons ago at this point. I think I would have told my friend to go screw himself, and
I should have, because the only reason I agreed to the bet was it said like, oh, it's a 30-hour platinum. I'm like, that's great. I've already put like 8 hours into the game, so that's nothing. It turned out to be a 60-hour platinum. And then the DLC that was supposed to take maybe 15 to 20 hours to do, it's taken me about 50 hours to do. So I'm just not going to buy a Ubisoft game. I take that back. I'm going to buy Star Wars Outlands or whatever that one is called.
Outlaws,
and then I'm never going to buy a Ubisoft game for the rest of the generation. I have decided, because screw them into the sun. I'm technically buying the 20th anniversary of Beyond Good and Evil, but I consider that a limited run games game because they are the ones publishing it. So F you, Ubisoft, stay in France, you Olympic host babies. I don't want to hear it.
You know, George, when you said that you had pre-ordered Outlaws, it got me thinking. Like that day I went back to IGN and I went back to 2013 when they showed
1313.
Blacklist, Splinter Cell Blacklist, and the difference from how they showed the game back then and how they showed Outlaws that was on that little 10-minute video on IGN or whatever was night and day. It's like they put their time back in the day, right? 2013, 14, whatever. They took their time and they made sure to explain it. Whereas this, it's just like, here's some gameplay footage, you know? So I just wish that more care would be taken into the presentation, like hype people up. You know, like if it did anything, it provided more controversy when the grenade blew up and the animation of her flying through, 20 feet or whatever. Everyone was laughing at that. And I was just like, oh man.
Is that an IGN problem or a Ubisoft problem?
Ubisoft.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really watched any of the footage, but I did listen the other day to one of the Last Stand podcasts, and Gene Park from the Washington Post, and he was talking about, I guess he was one of the people that got to play like the early build or whatever. And he actually, this is random, but he brought up apparently they streamed the game to him through Discord, and there was some way where he played the game remotely on Discord from a different computer that Ubisoft had, which is interesting. I didn't know they did that when like previewing games out to people. So, but he was saying he thought it was really good in the few hours he played, but that it is in fact just a Ubisoft like open world standard like cookie cutter type game.
Just real quick, have you guys seen this controversy about this though? The Star Wars Outlaws?
No.
What kind of controversy?
That like they were bribing people to give them good previews. And they were like promising them like trips to Disney World and stuff like that.
I didn't see that.
And then the one German publication pulled down their preview because
So basically, I think what happened was Ubisoft had a third party like reviewer of the previews. So if they
Yeah.
didn't like it, they would tell them what to change, basically, kind of
Yeah.
that type of thing. So yeah, that came out like a couple days ago. That's
A little
wild.
shisty. A little shisty.
Yeah.
Now that these companies aren't dealing with like big journalist publications, I think they're breaking codes of ethics that they know that like YouTubers and stuff don't have. So.
I do hope that game is good though, George. Just to go back to it, I mean, it would be awesome to have like a great open world Star Wars game. So
Well, I've been playing a lot of GameCube lately, just because like I have it set
Really?
up, and I just digitized my entire collection. I'm going to talk about that in my next thing. But man, I miss like
Digitize.
I miss like when licensed games were cool and like they tried. Like I started playing like Arkham Origins 2 on PlayStation 3 just because I never touched that one. And it was just cool to get like a 12-hour game that was Batman, that wasn't like trying to sell me additional shit.
yeah,
It just wanted me to be Batman for not an insane amount of time. And like Star Wars, like Rogue Squadron, like, oh, like this game, you could beat it in like 6 hours, but like it's a gorgeous game and you're doing cool Star Wars stuff the entire time. And so that is the next thing I want to talk about. Man, I've been getting really into like hacking stuff lately too. Do you guys remember that PlayStation phone, the Xperia, like the
yes,
Sony Ericsson? Well, I got one.
very cool. I
Like
always
the one
wanted
that's
one of those.
basically a PSP Go. And this thing is just like a portable Super Nintendo for me, to be
Wait, I'm
completely honest.
sorry. Is this is the old one, correct? This isn't the
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah, oh yeah. This is from like 20,
Oh, that's the Go, right? That's
20
just digital only.
2011. But yeah, but this is like the
Yeah.
Sony Ericsson phone.
So it's like the Go,
yeah.
but it's actually a phone. Yeah.
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 And so it's just like a portable Genesis Super Nintendo for me. And so I've been practicing with that. I copied over my entire GameCube library. I like hacked a Wii and then started backing up every single game I own. I'm about to hook my Wii back
Unbelievable.
up and start backing up all of my Wii games, doing all that. And I bought a Steam Deck and I'm trying to make that like my
Hell yeah.
portable GameCube machine. And I got like this network adapter for my original Xbox, so I can set up like a FTP download system, so I can like rip games on a modded Xbox that I have and create like a backup system for all those games that goes straight to my PC. And so it's been really cool. Like I was always so scared to do this, and then one day I just kind of said fuck it and just started doing it. And it's like really annoying, but it really feels like you're like doing a recipe for the first time. You're like, wait, how much salt goes in here? And then after you've made it a couple times, it's just like, oh, like I need about this much salt. I'm not counting like every fucking grain of salt that I put into like some sauce or whatever. So it's been really cool, man. I've had a great time doing that. And third thing, I actually started a new podcast with a buddy called
I didn't even
One
know
for
this.
You. It's called One for You, One for Me. We haven't released an episode yet. He's going through some stuff right now. Colin, I love you to pieces. I hope everything's okay. But we have like 4 or 5 episodes banked, and it's basically like each week I recommend a movie that I know he hasn't seen, and he recommends me a movie that he knows I haven't seen. And so we just break down 2 movies. And so we talk about Southland Tales is one we talk about, like that big Richard Kelly movie, the guy who did Donnie Darko. We talk about Blowout, which is a really good Brian De Palma movie. I've been trying to make him watch a lot of sports movies because, like, while football's not on and basketball's not on, I kind of miss sports. The Olympics have been beautiful for me personally for the past couple weeks. But no, man, it's been great. It's been super fun trying to stay productive. I missed you guys. So I was just trying to fill that podcast size hole in my heart.
So, George, you were talking about hacking. The one thing we were talking about this beforehand off air, the one thing you didn't bring up publicly is that you were actually responsible for that CloudStrike hack.
I am
ago.
Mr. Strike. Yeah. Of the New England strikes. Yes, one and the same. Yeah, that was
Wild.
That was a trivia question, man. And like Delta had to cancel like over 7,000 flights for that. Absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that like Southwest Airlines infrastructure is so old, it's like basically running on DOS. It's like immune to whatever happened with CloudStrike. It absolutely incredible. That and like the market crashed on Monday as we record this, and like the theory is that it's all because of like there's just been no like profit growth for AI, so these companies were spending billions and billions of dollars, but like the speculators are all of a sudden like, all right, where's the money you're making? It's really cool that you can just like have someone generate a picture of like a a taco on a motorbike, like robbing a bank, but like, how do you make money? And they're like, wait, what? What money?
We didn't think about that.
The one thing I will say is there's been a lot, just like on a societal level that's happened since we have been gone. So maybe we just need to make sure we're doing this podcast to prevent such things from happening.
There was no attempted assassination attempt when we were recording every week. I just want to throw that out there. Yeah, God, what a weird time to be alive. I got a fourth dog. I got a fourth dog too. Nice. And that same day that someone took a shot at Trump, the dog ran away for 6 hours. Just weird times for everyone.
That's a weird coincidence there, George.
Yeah, I don't know where my dog was when Trump was shot at. So did my dog do it? I don't know. My dog might be the. I probably shouldn't joke about that.
Yeah.
Not that
Let's
I think
just end that there.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, the joke is over. I just want to reiterate that was a joke.
It was a joke.
My dog loves the U.S. government.
Yeah, and he came back.
Sure did. Yeah.
Seth, what's going on, man?
Big dog. Not a whole lot, honestly. I haven't been up to too much. Just been like working and sleeping pretty much. I do have some stuff, but
okay.
Me and Caitlin are still on opposite schedules, so that's been chaotic. Thankfully, that's got less than a month to go. I'm finally moving to daylight after over a year and a half of waiting. I only had to threaten to quit my company 4 times.
Have you ever been daylight while you've been at this job? You have?
Yeah, for about 2 years. When we started the podcast, I was daylight.
Okay.
But then I went to night shift to take promotions, and I got a lot of money, and it was a really good decision long term. But they've been screwing me around for way too long now. But I have been playing the latest Legend of Heroes game. Me and Pedro are in our bloodbath race for this. I am 60 hours in.
Who's ahead?
I am.
Let's go.
It's not clean. It hasn't been a clean victory because he bought his physical copy and it got delayed by a week.
Oh,
so
take advantage of that.
That's
him in the nuts.
That's how I feel about it, right? I'm like, well, you took advantage of when I was in Disney World for 2 weeks.
It's not your fault.
Yeah. So I am quite far ahead of him. I'm nearing the final chapter of the game, and soon I will be once again the Kaseki King. But other than that, I just been messing around with my 3D printer. I'm printing like a 2.5 foot orc right now, and that's gonna be pretty cool when I get it all painted up and stuff.
Well, one more time. Sorry, 2.5 foot tall orc.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many prints does that take?
Yeah.
30 inches.
I have like a pretty large 3D printer. So, the orc itself is about 2.5 feet tall. The base is about another 6 inches. So it's pretty big.
So what's the volume?
I don't know. It's taken me about 3 bottles of resin. I can tell you that. So.
Well, next time you've got a bucket,
3,000 milliliters of resin. There you go.
Next time you got a bucket, put some water in it, and then put that bad boy in there, and you can figure out the volume.
So that's been pretty fun. I have been taking a break the last couple of days though because the fumes have started to get to me, and I just got like these terrible migraines. Not ideal. Other than that, it's Ren Fair season. Last month I went up to New York to the border to go to the Sterling Ren Fair, which was pretty sweet. And we went camping for a weekend and had a lot of fun there. They do not mess around.
Where you guys like fight with axes?
I do not.
Okay.
I fight with these sluggers right here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Then guns.
He rolls as a monk. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of that though, they at this Ren Fair they had hecklers, right? So like the old school tactic of like the carnies when you walk past the games, they'll start like talking trash to you.
I'm familiar with the
way
carnies.
back in the day. That started way back in the day. And there was this guy at the fair, and he had his head through a board, and you could buy tomatoes to throw at him. So essentially he would say really mean things to you. And like he would like you'd pay to like throw tomatoes at him, right? So he would say like these these horrible things. It was me and my buddy Watson were about to go like beat him up. We're like we're
What did he
gonna walk
say?
behind this board and like
to you?
hold him down and like smack him up. He was like, invest in some sleeves, fatty. You know, I was like, I'm gonna smack this guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was some people.
As long as you didn't talk about your beard, bro.
There was some people like throwing line drives at this guy's head. I'm surprised he lasted all day. I mean, because it was a decent distance away, so we didn't get hit that much. But we did see one guy like MLB like line up and just line drive it right in his face and obliterate him. But that's been a lot of fun. We're going to another one at the end of the month, and then me and Caitlin try to hit the one here in PA as much as possible. So that's pretty much all I've been up to, though. I haven't been doing much. Working and sleeping consumes most of my time.
Coach, what about you, man?
Same thing. Work, sleep, work out, run, do the army things that I haven't been doing since right around COVID, like right before COVID, right? So I'm actually dropping the COVID weight finally, which is nice. Like my uniform is, I'm gonna have to call my buddy back home and send me out some new ones because I'm quickly getting to the point where I look like a freaking hobo.
Is it dieting? Mostly diet or mostly workout? How you doing?
Okay, so it has to be both, really.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Sorry, I'm trying to lose weight too. So like, are you doing like an aggressive like calorie cutting thing, or
like I'm at the point where I started when I first got here. I was doing the 16-8 intermittent fasting, right? So then once I got used to that, now I'm trying to do 18-6, and then last month I was gonna do a 24-hour fast, right? Just try it. But then before I started, I was doing research on this. The benefits of a 36-hour is greater.
I did a 36-hour fast last week, and now I do one every other week, and I like basically like Wednesday midnight until Friday at noon.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
Yeah. So the last 12 hours, is all about regenerating your cells. Like all your bad cells, right? Is either getting rid of them or fixing them up. So that's why 36 hours are very important, right? So Sundays, I do mine Sundays, or Saturday dinner to Monday morning breakfast. And then let's see what else. So I finally had some time to start gaming recently. So I've been playing a lot of boomer shooters, which are fun. And they're amazing. It's like a whole new world up there with these boomer shooters, right? So, but I did start. Say again.
That whole old world.
Kind of, but these are brand new games, though.
Yeah.
Using like the GZ Doom engine. But the one that I've been playing recently is Dark Forces, and that is such an amazing game. Like that is so fun. Like I do remember George saying. This was before I left. I think we were talking about it. This was before I left, or maybe it was in our chat where you need a walkthrough or a guide to get through that game, right? I think he said something like that.
I needed one, yeah.
Right. But so what I do is I've been playing I start each level on easy and I just cruise around. I get to know the lay of the land. Then I'll play it on medium, and then I'll play it on hard and try and get through it without dying. So I've been doing that. I bought a Series S when I'm out here, and a 1440 monitor. So yeah, it's these next 4 months are going to be good for gaming. Now that I'm like in my zone and I know the times I can game. So yeah, good times.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
So I was talking to Coach yesterday, and George, I know you played Bolt Gun, right?
Oh yeah, that
game's Bolt Gun.
That game's incredible. Yeah,
that's one I really want to dig into.
I love the 40K universe. I just wish they had better games. I mean, I feel like all their games are not for me. Except like a few, like Space Marine's awesome, right? But
Space Marine's sick. The only one. There's one that's basically Diablo, and then Vermintide, but that's like the fantasy setting.
Yeah, Vermintide is okay. it's more just like a horde mode. It's sort of like Left 4 Dead, right?
It's
Like,
Left 4 Dead. Yeah.
I played Vermintide. I really like the 40k universe and the lore. I think it's extremely unique in a way that you don't really see sci-fi universes these days. And the fact that it just takes place so far in the future, it's almost like Dune, where it's like completely removed from anything we have currently. And I think that's really cool. But the one thing that drives me nuts about 40k is that there's never any development anymore because it's never ending war, right? So I have a really hard time investing in something that's like never ending and never developing, because all the story in 40k has pretty much happened in the past at this point. So
You know, the Horus Heresy was like the last big major thing, and it's like, okay, how much of the world, like, is the story just the Horus Heresy? If that's where 99% of every story takes place, like, is that just the story? Inquisitor is good, but it is like I said, like a Diablo, but it's more like Diablo 2 than Diablo 3 or 4, if that helps you at all.
it's the sort of the way I feel about Dungeons and Dragons and their video games, right? Like all the Forgotten Realms games are like really bad. There was that one that came out like a few years ago, and it was the 4-player cooperative game, and like almost completely unfinished, where the characters were like skating across the ground. It had like no weight or anything. It was really bad. But we had one good one, right? Baldur's Gate 3, nailed that one.
I still haven't played that game. I need to pick it up at some point.
Is it good on Steam Deck?
Yeah. I mean, you got to understand that like you should have your Steam Deck plugged in and don't expect things to look pretty. But it runs good once you get the settings set up. How do you like your Steam Deck, by the way, George?
I don't really like, when I bought it, in my head I kept thinking of PCs as like a separate console, right? Like I remember a time when there was games that like only ran well on PC. Like I was thinking like Crysis and like Dragon Age Inquisition, like the first one, and like all these games that were basically just completely different games. And then I bought the Steam Deck, and like every time I go onto the sale page, it's like games I already own on PlayStation 5. I'm just like, oh, why the fuck did I buy this thing? And then I remembered, like, oh, it's so you could play old shit. Like, it's so you could. I really don't like how complicated it is, to be completely honest. Like, I feel like I have to adjust settings every time I want to do something. The games that I don't have to adjust, it's great. Like, I've been playing like a lot of Portal before I go to bed, and like that thing is like, that game is perfect. It runs beautifully on Steam Deck. Like, it's great. I'm about to start doing like a Half-Life marathon, so I assume that those are going to run pretty well on Steam Deck as well. But I have to remind myself, I'm like, dude, you didn't buy this to play new games. You bought this for Dolphin, basically. And I am beating my head against a brick wall trying to figure out how to get Dolphin to run on it. Because like I copied it, like I said, I backed up over 100 GameCube games. I have everything from Ultimate Spider-Man to Twin Snakes to Mario Sunshine to Animal Crossing. Like I have everything I've ever bought except for 5 games that I couldn't get to work. And I just can't get it to run for the life of me. And I've followed like 8 different YouTube tutorials, and I still can't do it. So I know I need to just like set aside a whole day. Like, don't do this in like the half hour before you go to bed one night and expect to play GameCube games in bed. Wake up at 10 a.m. and just dedicate an entire day to figuring this out.
Yeah, the
hardware is amazing. Like I got the OLED. It's beautiful.
The OLED is pretty. It's got a Linux file system, which makes things like way more difficult. I know like it's for like major PC nerds. It's like a sin to say I hate Linux with a dying passion. I think I know I just broke Coach's heart. I had a whole course on Linux in high school and college, and I wanted to swallow a 9mm. And yeah, it was terrible. I hate it. So actually, what I did was I set up RetroArch on my PC, and every time I want to play retro games through an emulator, I just remote play from my Steam Deck into my PC, because I refuse to work. I refuse to work with Linux. I hate it. So that was my solution to it. But
I bought like Rogue Squadron 3D, and like there is a setup that's like, do you want to just use an Xbox 360 controller? I'm like, yeah. I feel like that's what I have with the Steam Deck. And like, nope, I still can't just like get it to work correctly. Like I can't just use the joysticks and the buttons. And I'm like, dude, I just want to play this 30-year-old game.
That's one of the hardest games to get working on.
Yes.
Dolphin are the 2 Rogue Squadron games.
But even the Steam version of Rogue Squadron is bad.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're trying to play, right?
Yeah, I was trying
Yeah.
to play
Oh,
like
it is?
like the PC version of like the N64 one,
Oh yeah,
which
because
I
there's
just
this game breaking.
Have you thought about playing like a better Star Wars game than Rogue Squadron? I mean, that's like the bottom
well
10% of any
that's
Star
the
Wars game
thing.
ever
Like
released. Right? It might be the
I-
worst one, actually.
that's actually not true.
Might be even worse than Republic Commando.
Or like
Hey.
Tetsukazi, was that what the name of the fighting game was?
Oh
Terrace-
man,
Terrace
that's funny.
Kasi.
I bought
Terrace
that.
Kasi.
I'm like, what the hell is this? crap, man?
No, well, like I have this really cool podcast that used to release episodes where I go back and revisit the things I enjoyed when I was 15 to figure out if they were good or if I was 15. And man, like I remember one summer, all I did was play that Rogue Squadron game, and like 100 times just to get gold medal on each level, and like I did. And like I want to play it again just to be like, was this really good, or was I just like Stockholm syndrome because that was the only game I could afford that year, you know? So I want to revisit it to figure out if it was good or if I was fucking 9 years old. And I just like it's like monkey's paw. Like every time I like make some progress in one regard, it like the graphics just like drop. I'm like, okay, cool, I got it to work with the joystick, and then like all of a sudden like the color red just doesn't appear. I'm like, well, that sucks because like I start on Tatooine, so like like I can't see a lot going on here. And then all of a sudden I like get the color back, but then like none of the buttons work, and I can only use like the touch screen as like a mouse to like fly the ship. I'm like, what the like what in the Star Fox 60? Like what the fuck is this? So I really like the OLED. I have to remind myself again. I'm like, dude, you didn't buy this for Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Like you didn't do it for that. Like just play your stupid Steam games. Like, you know, play your Portal, play your Half-Life, and then just like for the love of God, figure out your GameCube because that is why you bought it.
Oh, you know what else? Oh, I did do one extra thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I got a Fire Stick because I saw that Game Pass is now supported on Fire Stick. So I got that, and I just play all my Xbox games through my Fire Stick now, and it works great over my terabit internet. It's like phenomenal. So I started playing through the Gears of War series, realized they're not as good as I thought they were. That's the honest to God truth. That Gears of War 1 has not aged as well as I thought it would. That you know,
Did you play
I'm just a
the
messenger.
remastered?
Were you playing the Ultimate Edition or were you playing the original 360?
I was playing the
Okay.
Ultimate Edition.
Were you playing with a buddy?
No,
Okay,
See,
those games
that's
I don't
the
have
problem.
friends.
Yeah,
Those games
Coach and I
co-op
played
are the
all of
way
them.
to do it.
I did play. I played the original Gears of War 1 and 2 with my really good buddy at the time, all the way through co-op. And I stopped playing Gears of War after that. So I wanted to see how the rest of them went, and I started playing Gears of War 1, and I'm like,
You're just a Dom looking for your Santiago.
that's right.
You're just a Dom looking for your sub, you know?
I'm just Can't think
So, as for me, I guess I'll kind of group some things together. I mean, certainly I've been crazy busy the past few months, which is frankly, I'm probably the primary reason we didn't really record for a while, and that's because two big life changes for me. I got a new job in a much larger market, which is exciting. But there was a period where I was driving like an hour and 45 minutes to and from work every day until we bought our house, which we bought at the end of May. And so we've been in here we've only been in the house for about a month now. It's been like a little over a month, but it's been blast. It's so much better than apartment life. Like there's so many little things that I just wouldn't have thought about. Like right now I could be as loud as I want for example, which is just like a nice feeling to know. Versus
it took
in
me
an
so
apartment.
long to like deprogram, dude. It
Yeah.
was like months where I was like, oh wow, I actually can just be annoying in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So, and like always worrying, we were on the second floor of our apartment, like always worrying about how loud we were stepping and like walking because our apartment was cheaply made and every single thing, that dropped on the ground, the person below you would hear. And, but yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, I'm sure there will be some challenging days when it comes to like home repairs and things ahead. But so far, it's nice to be a homeowner. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
so that was really the big stuff for me the past couple months. But then, I did want to just touch on a couple things on a more lighthearted note. The first just being that we're talking about things we enjoyed, things we did. I just want to touch on Kaiju number 8, which was an anime that came out, and that was what kind of kept me going over the past few months as we were like, unpacking and packing and doing all this stuff just 24/7 and working and like really no time for much of anything. Was watching anime, and Kaiju number 8 was like the one thing that just really stuck out to me as a major surprise. That anime, I mean, it's only been one season so far. I think it was 12 episodes, but it's phenomenal. Just came out like a few months ago, and we watched it week by week as it was airing, and just one of the most promising new anime I've seen. And then likewise, just sticking on an anime front, the new season of My Hero Academia, which is still airing now week by week on Saturdays, again has been just absolutely phenomenal. They're in the final arc of the show now, and you can like really feel it. In fact, I think the manga actually just ended a week or two ago, so I would assume that next season will be the final season of the show. So
yeah, I think so.
Pretty cool to see where it's building. And then just on a game front, the one thing I wanted to touch on, and this again has been a godsend for me over the past couple months, and that is Mario RPG remake, which has been so easy to just like jump into for like 30 minutes and put down, because that's really what I've needed, is something that I can just pick up and put down with how much I have going on right now. It's so good. I've never played the original.
Immediately perked up as soon as he said that.
It's such a good game, George. I had never played the original. I knew almost nothing about the original except for the fact that it was an RPG and Geno, because everybody on the face of this planet talks about Geno, and how much they wanted him in Smash. But frankly, I don't know that I had ever seen like gameplay footage or anything of the original. It was like a major blank spot for me. And so jumping into this, it's been an absolute blast playing it. I think I'm about 7 hours in, probably about halfway. I think I've got like half the stars, and it's just like the perfect game for me right now. It's been exactly what I need. Something that, again, I can just quickly jump in and out of. It's not like super deep on a story level where, I'm having to remember all this stuff in Persona or whatever it is. And then likewise, it's an RPG, but it's only like 15, 20 hours, which in the short amount of time I have to play games recently makes me feel like I'm actually progressing instead of this like 90 to 120 hour long RPG that I will never finish.
Instead of like, I don't know, like a Trails game or something.
Right. Yeah. Right. So
exactly.
But yeah, that's really it for me. It's just been busy. It's been a busy period, so I'm excited for things to kind of calm down. Kind of here shortly. We still got some other things we got to take care of. Our lease technically still continues at our old apartment until 3 weeks from now, so I've got to go back and like finish up and do the final walkthrough with them, which I will be so glad when all that's over. But
that's awesome, man. Congrats again on the house.
Yeah.
Congrats on the new job.
Thank you. So, anything else you guys want to add on as far as things you've been doing? Anything else that came to mind before we jump into Deadpool and Wolverine? I want to talk about that because we've all four seen that movie, which is kind of rare for us.
Yeah. Really quick on the comic front, I haven't released a new episode of Shortbox Summary in a minute. So I just want to say, man, comics are really good. Comics. I am not caught up on Marvel. I'm like basically 3 months behind. Like there's a current event going on called Blood Hunt, which is like about like vampires basically winning for once and sort of taking over the Marvel universe. And it's by my favorite writer currently at Marvel, and it's absolutely gorgeous artwork. So I'm really having a good time with that. But like I said, I'm like 4 issues behind on that. I am completely caught up on all my DC books. And man, DC Comics is quietly killing it. And the way Marvel had the Ultimate Universe sort of reboot a few months ago. Like they're on Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and they just started the Ultimates, like their version of the Avengers. That those books have all been great. DC is following suit, and they're kind of doing their own version of the Ultimate Universe called Absolute. So there's going to be an Absolute Superman book, Absolute Batman book, and that's like the return of Scott Snyder to Batman, the guy who did like the New 52 shit. So I don't know, like I can't say for Marvel just because I haven't been following the Blood Hunt event, but DC is in a great spot right now. They got a big event called Absolute Power going on, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So if anyone listening wants to jump into comics, since we're about to talk about a comic book movie, jump on in. The water's fine, guys.
It's hard for me to even think about getting back into DC though, because they had the New 52, right? And then they went to Rebirth, and then they shut that down before, like, that wasn't that long of a series.
Well,
And
that's
so
not.
then,
That wasn't like a series, though. That was like a publishing initiative where it was like supposed to just be like a good time to jump back into DC if you fell off.
yeah. So then I just haven't been into DC. I've been into Marvel lately. Like I started reading the new X-Men, right?
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm starting to get back into comics. So
Welcome back, Coach. We missed you, big dog.
Yeah.
but have
I
you guys seen real quick? Sorry, Austin.
You're
Have you
good.
seen any of the episodes of the new Batman?
Mm-mm.
Cape Crusader. No,
Oh,
I am.
shit, man.
I am 4 episodes away from finishing my rewatch of the original animated series, like the '90s one. I've been falling asleep to that every night for the past few weeks. So as soon as I wrap there, I'm jumping straight into Cape Crusader. I can't wait.
My friend's like, oh, you got to watch the whole. I barely made it through one episode. I was just like, oh my god.
So I don't know much about it, but I know obviously it looks like the old cartoon. Is it a continuation
bit.
like
It doesn't
X-Men
really look like it a
is?
lot.
No,
Oh, wait.
it's not a continuation.
No.
So it's separate. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's big time separate. It's like a whole nother like Elseworld type of.
Yeah, this one takes place in like the 30s.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Characters have changed.
Also, man, if you guys have any inclination, My Adventures with Superman, that cartoon is really fucking good.
Is it really? I've
I've
always
heard that.
seen it. I didn't know if it was good or not.
It's got like big anime energy, but it's clearly like an American production. But like the voice actor is Jack Quaid, like the guy who plays Huey on The Boys, and he is so good at capturing like a range for Superman.
So George kind of already hinted at it, and I mentioned it earlier, but you know, we're talking about comic books here, and I think the big topic that a lot of people are talking about right now, and certainly, again, a movie we all 4 of us have seen is Deadpool and Wolverine, which has been out for, I want to say, about a week and a half now at time of recording, almost 2 weeks, and I just wanted to kind of talk about it here, but I guess we didn't really set ground rules. Do we want to do spoilers, or do we want to keep this spoiler free? I mean, we've all seen it.
I think we
Yeah.
should do spoilers since like
Yeah.
my timeline
Yeah.
is just a giant spoiler.
It's
anyway.
made like over $1 billion already. I think,
agree.
So
So
It's like
if you
impossible to talk about it without spoilers, I think.
if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, honestly, just turn off the episode. Just wait for next week.
You're
The new
welcome.
episode comes out. So, Seth, I want to get your thoughts. What did you think about Deadpool and Wolverine? Because I know you kind of dropped off the MCU, and this isn't like total MCU, but certainly still got a role to play. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I dropped off the MCU because everything just felt so same, and it felt like I was just kind of over it once Endgame hit. But there was a couple characters, right, that I was still interested in, right? Like Spider-Man. I thought No Way Home was phenomenal, and I really loved that. And Deadpool's the other one because Deadpool is so different than any of the other short superhero movies. And I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, and it was very emotional too, right? Because we thought Wolverine was done as far as a Hugh Jackman Wolverine. We thought that was a chapter that was completely closed. And if you read the interviews, it's like Hugh Jackman was like, "Oh no, I was done with it." And then Ryan Reynolds came to me and asked me, and he came back as like a passion project almost. Man, I thought it was really cool, and I thought they both did great. I saw some reviewers that were like giving it a rough time, but I was kind of like the Harrison Ford about Star Wars. Like, it's not that kind of movie, buddy. You know?
Yeah, dude. When the reviews first dropped, like a lot of them were negative, And like having seen the movie now, I don't understand that, but I think it was, I forget if it was IGN or GameSpot, but like one of them gave it a 3 out of 10. And I'm like, I don't know what planet you live on.
It's just another instance of like a major disconnect between people that are like artsy fartsy and like the actual general population. And I absolutely hate cinephiles. Like they're the most annoying people in the world, I think.
I don't like. I hear you said. I don't think it's a disconnect between artsy fartsy and whatnot. I think it is like. I really think people were expecting like the Dark Knight of Deadpool movies. You know,
I don't know why.
Like,
why would you expect that? Like
I don't. I completely agree. Like everyone's just like, well, the plot is paper thin, and it's like, oh, he just wants to save his friends. I'm like, yeah, man, the plot is paper thin. I didn't come here for like fucking Herman Melville levels of character development. I really came here for the dick and fart jokes. I just wanted them to be better than the dick and fart jokes from Deadpool 2, which I found were better than the dick and fart jokes in Deadpool 1. Like that. Like that's why I was here. I want to see a progression of the dicks and the farts.
100%.
And I did. Like they were great. I laughed hysterically throughout that entire movie. I was really worried. I didn't think it was going to be bad for that reason. I thought it was going to be bad the reason I thought The Flash was bad, where it just felt like IP vomit. You know, like something about The Flash just felt like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? And like Deadpool does that, but they do it with a level of sincerity and earnestness that I was actually really impressed that they managed to pull off. I thought there was one gross line in the entire movie, and it wasn't even a bad line. It was like really shitty delivery where I'm just like, is this the only take you guys had of we are full spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like when Blade is like, some motherfuckers are still trying to ice skate uphill. Like, I'm like, is that the only take? Like, there was no better version of him saying that line. Like, that was the only part. Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand the joke.
Oh, well, that was his like big hard ass line in the first Blade movie, like right before he annihilated Stephen Dorff. He's like, you know, some motherfuckers always try to ice skate uphill. And when he said it in that first movie, it was hardcore as shit. 8-year-old me watching that movie after renting it from the grocery store was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then him doing it was like Murtaugh in Lethal Weapon, where it's like Lethal Weapon when he's like, man, I'm too old for this shit. Like he said it like he meant it in the first one. And then in the fourth Lethal Weapon, he's like, I'm too old for this shit. And it's just like, it just felt like a catchphrase at that point. So he took like a fucking bar of his from the first movie and then made it a catchphrase. And I thought that was gross. But again, it was, I don't know, 3.5 seconds out of a 2-hour-long movie. So like, does that really affect my opinion of the movie? No, man, I had a fucking great time. I thought it was wonderful.
I agree.
Coach, what did you think?
Well, first of all, going back to the critics and stuff, I think we're at a point now where we will know when a movie is good if the critic score is low and the user score is high, right?
I agree.
Yeah, so it's just like the landscape has changed as far as there's no more Siskel and Eberts anymore, really. You know, but anyways, back to the movie, I just had fun. It was a fun movie, right? Like just being able to see the Wolverine that we grew up on was just amazing. Like I enjoyed every freaking moment, whether it was crazy story like that was just loopy or if it was just a fun moment, you know. Yeah. So it was good. I was laughing the whole time, and that's what you go to movies for, right?
I loved it, man. It was I agree with you guys. It was hilarious. I mean, I was constantly laughing, and yeah, I mean, sure, the plot was not like the most intriguing plot I've ever experienced, but again, that's not really the point. I think it's more so like the character interactions, the jokes, the action, which I will say my only complaint with the film would be some of the action scenes were so overly CGI that they kind of pulled me out of it. Like the sequence where they're going through the bus and fighting all the Deadpools, it's like total CGI if I'm recalling correctly. And there was something weird about Wolverine, just the way he looked in that scene that kind of pulled me away. But you know, if I'm going to complain about one thing, that's such a minor part of that movie compared to everything else. So I loved it, though. I mean, I had actually never seen Deadpool 2 until like the week before this came out. And so I watched that right before and then went straight into 3. And It surprised me. I was really impressed with it, and it's just a fun movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought
And
the cameos were extremely impressive as well.
the cameos were awesome. Yeah, dude,
Freaking
Gambit, Channing Tatum.
Gonna make a name for myself.
I love that they
Yeah.
not only did they put Channing Tatum in that costume and bring him into the movie, but they made him like this ridiculous version of the character.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That
perfect.
that was one thing I saw complaining too, where it's just like, man, you know, you'd have to be like such a nerd. Like all the references in this, like they're insane. Like they had Channing Tatum, who was never even in an X-Men movie. He was just supposed to be in a Gambit movie that like never got off the ground in time. You know, like it was supposed to come out after Wolverine Origins, and then that bombed. So then they decided to do like a soft reboot with X-Men First Class. And it's like, how are people supposed to know all this? And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like it doesn't. Like you're not. Like, who
Right.
cares if they know like the history of the casting for this movie that never got made? Like, this is the big thing I have like against people who complain about comics, where they're just like, how are new readers supposed to know this? I'm like, they fucking don't have to. Like, just let them like read the, like, how dumb do you think people are?
Mhm.
Like, just let them pick up, like, have a little bit more faith. Let them pick up the book. Let them go see the movie, because nothing about Channing Tatum, like, it doesn't matter. Like, he's just there doing ridiculous Cajun shit, and I'm sure he pissed off a bunch of people from Louisiana, and then everyone from like Atlanta is just like, yeah, man, Cajuns are crazy, you know, and then like everyone from like New Orleans is just like, oh man, they fuck these assholes, like what do they do to us, you know? Like I'm sure that happened, but like besides that, like it doesn't matter, man. Like just fucking sit
Dude.
back, and like I'm not trying to say like turn your brain off. I'm just saying have more faith in your audience. They're not 8 years old, they're not 7 years. I'm sure some of them are, but like, just it's okay. It's okay if you just like throw a character in with no real backstory, as long as they occupy some level of vibes. Like that's really all that matters. He was there just to be like a cool dude with an accent, like a wild card, if you will. Pardon the pun. You know, like that was the point. So like all these. I'm not going to shit on critics. I'm not going to do that, because I do think I follow more movie critics than you guys generally do, and like I
follow
specifically
0 of them.
Okay, that's the thing. You're like that dude who's just like, man, SNL sucks. Like, oh yeah, when was the last time you watched it? And you're like, 20 years ago. It's like, okay, bud, you know.
Never follow any movie critic.
What's up?
Never follow any movie critic.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck them into the sun. I hate them.
Yeah.
I like the ones I follow, but like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they're not like concerned for other people, but they're like trying to occupy a space where like, I just don't know about audiences. It's like, well, we're not actually asking audiences. We're asking you how you feel about the movie. Don't like be concerned for other people. That's not
Right.
really your job. And it sounds like a lot of people are. I also think that like the destruction of the barrier between fans and critics is like terrible. Like what we were talking about earlier for like the Star Wars Outlaws thing, about how there's just like no credibility, there's no like accountability, there's no standards or morals or ethics or anything. And so it's just like, yeah, I guess like if a YouTube channel has 12,000 people following it, it's like, I guess that's a critic now. Is it like, that's essentially just like a column from the 90s for like some regional newspaper, right? Like in terms of like circulation. So like, do I trust this dude who just like makes shitty YouTube shorts? Like I don't. So like, I don't know like why we should let their opinion really matter, but I'm talking too much and I want to hear someone else
So,
speak.
okay, so I do have a question. Okay, so at the end, and this legitimately, I've been thinking about this when I thought about the movie, but in the second movie, okay, at the end, he goes back to save her, his wife, or his girlfriend, right?
Right.
So now she's alive in that timeline. She's not dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in this movie, and it was real quick, but that's not the same timeline they're in, right? They're not in the same timeline as the second one, because do you notice how his girlfriend, they're only friends now, and it's not like they were ever dating. It was just like they knew each other. So my question is, because at the bottom it said which Earth it was or something like that, but it was so quick I missed it.
I
Well,
thought it was
So
pretty clear they broke up, right? Like,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
wasn't
I
that
was
the whole
thinking.
thing?
They,
was pretty-
they broke up because he like wasn't accomplishing anything. Like he wasn't making anything of himself, and he was just kind of mopey and depressed, and he wouldn't try to see the joy in life, and that's why they broke up.
But I will say this, to Coach's point, in a different way, they did play very like fast and loose with the timeline rules that the MCU's established already in this movie, which I really didn't care about. I mean, this movie was not one where I cared about them following the rules at all. But like, for example, I thought the whole thing with him going to 616 like isn't even possible with the rules they've established in the other movies. So
it was so random and so funny too.
Yeah, no, it was a great scene. It was a great scene, but I think that goes to show how good this movie is, where like me as somebody who has continued to watch the MCU even through the abomination that is Secret Invasion, and after that, I just didn't even care. I didn't care that the rules didn't work the way they were supposed to, and it's such a good movie. But I wanted to go back to Gambit for just a second. My favorite line in the whole movie is when he talks about how he shot out of his dad's balls. That was the best freaking line. Like, totally took me aback. I was totally shocked by that. And then
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you were talking about your favorite moments, and I was gonna say my favorite moment was the Chris Evans moment where they.
That's what I was gonna say.
America.
That's what I was about to say. The flame on, dude. As a Fantastic Four like fan when I was a kid of those movies that are now known as not so good, I went back and watched the first one the other day. I still like it.
It's just a Galactus thing. That's what ruined.
I watched that first movie so many times when I was a kid and loved it. The second he said flame on, I literally in the theater was like, oh crap. And that's like the first time I've had like a visceral reaction in a movie theater that's not like cheering or clapping for something. I just like couldn't believe what they did with that. I was totally surprised. So, and I hadn't followed any of the leaks. I guess I was listening. I forget what podcast it was, but they were saying the stuff about Elektra and Blade, like all leaked prior, apparently based off the casting. I didn't know that.
I missed that, and like my local theater never gets movies day and date. The second I saw that movie was playing release day, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave work early. I'm gonna go see this at like a 4:50 screening. Like I am gonna turn off my phone as soon as I possibly can, and I'm gonna see this because I don't want to be. I didn't know anyone was gonna be in that movie. Like I just heard there was going to be cameos, and I was just like, all right, that's more than I wanted to know, to be completely honest. And I just went in as blind as I possibly could, and god damn, what a time.
Yeah.
So the amount of times I've said baby night since that movie came out for no real reason. It's just really fun to say in a high-pitched voice. I don't really think there's like too much to criticize. Like the movie felt more like a ride than a movie, which I guess could be like a criticism, but also like it was a really good ride. So like what do you care? I kind of hope this shuts the door on multiversal storytelling. I kind of hope this shuts the door on time travel shit. Like the one criticism I guess I would levy at this movie is that like nothing really matters. Like the fact that there were infinite Deadpools, the fact that there were infinite Wolverines. And like there were a bunch of like really cool fan service moments. Like, we saw like the eye patch Wolverine. We saw like him on the X, like in front of like the Sea of Skulls, like from that I think Jim Lee cover or like John Byrne cover. I can't remember. And then we saw like the brown suit, like going up against. Yeah, the comic accurate one where he's like going up against Hulk and like 181 and stuff. And like that was cool, but like ultimately meaningless. Like that was more like winks at fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of sick of it. Do you feel like, I guess one legitimate criticism I have seen is that like this really takes the wind out of the sails for Logan?
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, it inflates Logan because they made a point in the whole movie that like that was like a heroic Logan, and that their whole reason that the universe is collapsing is because that Logan's gone. It's not like they brought that Logan back, like
sure.
That Logan's still dead.
I mean, they functionally did though, right? Like
different.
You can see the super depressed Logan that we got in the movie, essentially becoming the super depressed Logan in Logan.
Yeah, I mean, they had to do something to bring Hugh Jackman back, but
sure. Yeah.
I think they did a good job of playing it fast and loose. with like respecting the impact that Logan had, and then also bringing Hugh Jackman back in like a superhero role. Which, by the way, hasn't lost a step. Hugh Jackman still phenomenal as Wolverine.
Oh my God,
Yep.
yeah. 55 and looking incredible. Also, can
Yeah.
I be honest? Is this a safe space right here? Like, we're all friends, right?
Yeah.
I don't really care for Logan that much, like the movie.
It's not
I
the
think
one I'm going to go back and watch.
I think it's just Unforgiven with Wolverine, which like sounds cool, but I'm like, man, we kind of saw that movie already. And same thing with that Joker movie that everyone loves. I like confess this in my Helldivers group, which I'm going to join up with after we finish recording tonight, that I didn't like the Joker movie. And they acted like I was crazy and like I lost
I'm the
my
same
mind.
way.
I'm like, no, that movie fucking.
I haven't
See, I
seen it,
love
so-
that movie. Yeah, I
I thought that Joker movie was the best movie. I only want to see once. You know, I'm like, okay. Because my thing with the Joker movie, right, is that at some point, how many layers of the character are we going to strip away before it's not even Joker?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm like, well, there's no relation whatsoever except for the makeup to the comic character. It's kind of strange in that way, you know. But we're still going to call it a Joker movie. Okay.
But the way Logan is just like, in my eyes, like a remake of Unforgiven with Wolverine. Like Joker was just a remake of the King of Comedy with the Joker, to the point where like they even got Robert De Niro to play the talk show host who was the star of the King of Comedy. Like, I'm just like, all right, like you're just like showing us you've seen this other movie. And so like because of that, like I don't care if it deflates the legacy of Logan, because frankly I don't care for that movie very much. Daphne Keane was sick, and I did like that we got to see her grow up a bit, and she's having a bit of a moment between that and Acolyte. So man, it was great. I hope we see more of her, because like she is young, right? Isn't she like 19 now?
Yeah.
She's not that
She's
old.
pretty young.
So
is
she
she
can
the one
be,
that played the Padawan?
yeah.
That was the only good character. I don't want to make this an Acolyte.
Here we
But
go.
I loved her character. I loved her character. I loved her character.
We got to have an Acolyte.
Yeah,
autopsy
no,
at
I don't
some
think we
point.
do. I don't want to talk
But-
about
Yeah,
that.
I'm not
That
interested.
show.
Okay.
Leave that
All right.
casket shut.
I really like that
I didn't
show,
even
but-
watch the
Okay,
last 4
but I
episodes.
do
I'm
want to
good.
say, what did you guys do when you saw Sabretooth from the original X-Men?
I thought it was cool.
Man,
Yeah,
that guy's-
I thought it was cool too. And then
that guy's
Toad.
fucking old.
It was
Sabretooth
cool. It
and-
was cool, but I will say I heard this somewhere else too. The line where Deadpool goes, "Oh, we've been waiting to see this for 20 years." Have we? Was anyone really waiting to see Wolverine and Sabretooth fight? They already did
Yeah.
in the first movie.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
but that fight was pretty short, right? Like when he drops a tree on the truck. And so I think that he was like, I feel like he was making a meta joke about like,
That's true.
people been wanting to see Deadpool and Wolverine fight since they heard it was happening. But like Sabretooth and Wolverine, like that's like the actual fight you want to
Right.
see, like as like a deep, neat, nerded comic book fan. But what I was saying earlier, sorry, Daphne Keane is 19. She could totally be folded into the MCU and be like,
She could be
a
young
pillar
Avenger.
of the X-Men movies going forward. You know, like I'd be super into that. I thought she was great. Like she was like the most. Like she had to like bear like all the emotion for Wolverine, right? Like, and so like I don't know, like if you have that kind of range, but like you still look credible and badass doing fight scenes, like yeah, that is absolutely the kind of person you want going forward.
I definitely
Also,
don't.
I just saw
I
her
gotta say-
silhouette.
Are they planning? Do you guys know to just immediately start making the Fantastic Four and X-Men movies? I feel like it's too soon. I feel like I don't need.
Fantastic Four comes out next May, and it takes I think it's set in the 60s.
I just feel like it's too soon. That's my personal opinion, especially with the X-Men and the Fox universe like folding now. Are we bringing the First Class cast back in the MCU? Is that what's going to happen? That's the only reason. That's the only way I find it interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. And spoilers for the Marvels, I guess, if you have not seen that movie from like a year ago at this point. But the end credits scene, they bring back Beast, and it's the
Like
First Class version
Kelsey-
of him.
In
No,
what
it's-
movie?
That's the only way.
Oh,
I-
Marvels.
No,
I didn't see
No, it was Kelsey Grammer. Like it was
Was
the it was the X-Men.
It was
3.
the original Beast from.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the
Is
First
it the
Class.
second one?
the
It's Kelsey
third
Grammer?
one.
Okay, the
Yeah.
third one. Oof.
So, but either way, they do bring back the Fox version of him, a Fox version of him. So I don't know. It seems like they're kind of building to X-Men. They haven't really said But I wouldn't be surprised if that is the plot of Secret Wars. It's
They
like
gotta
an
figure out a
X-Men
way to-
versus
They got to figure out a way to
Avengers type
bring him in first, though, right? You can't just be like, oh, and here's the X-Men. You're like, well, you've been here the whole time.
thing. Yeah.
That's what
I don't think they're
that's what
going to do that.
I thought the mutants were going to be like a side effect of like using the gauntlet twice on the same planet. Like that's what I thought was going to happen.
It
Was
made
like
sense.
there was all this extra radiant energy or whatever, and that's like what triggered some people's shit or whatever. Like that's what I thought. And I really thought that like with Thanos gone, like the Fantastic Four would be able to like come back into the universe and they'd just be like, where is he? Where's Thanos? Like he sent us away. And like Thanos made everyone forget about the Fantastic Four and like they'd been there. Like I thought they were gonna have to do some like shenanigans like that just to like kind of make everything gel together. And I thought that made sense back when Robert Downey Jr. was no longer involved with the MCU. And then, like, the same weekend as Deadpool, right? Or, like, the week after? I can't remember when it was, like,
Same
Robert
weekend.
Downey Jr.'s as Doctor Doom. Austin, you're a huge Fantastic Four fan. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap was that exact thing. I don't know, George. I think it's interesting. Like, it could make for a very interesting plot around his character. I mean, it's certainly not the Doom that I would have wanted. I definitely would have wanted, like, a different actor that has his own time to shine. Just like RPJ did.
I wanted Viggo Mortensen. Yeah, that's what
that would have been awesome.
Ooh, yes,
But
that's a good.
At the same time, like, just thinking if they do it right, like the plot implications of having Doom, I mean, it would have to be some variant of Tony Stark. That's the only way it could work. It could be interesting. I mean, from a plot standpoint. And I know in the comics there's been some crossover with those two characters, but I think my biggest problem is just like in a real world, like our world scenario, it just seems like a money grab to me. It seems like the MCU's dying. What the hell are we going to do? We got to bring back Robert Downey Jr. That's the only thing that can get people back to the movies. And
Make the RDJ glass.
Yeah.
Like 1000%. Yeah. Like I don't think he's gonna be bad. Like I don't think Robert Downey Jr. has been bad in a movie. Like even like you look at like early career shit for him, like even something like Less Than Zero, like he's really good in that movie. He's not gonna be the problem. The problem to me is like the signals like a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum, you know, where it's just like, oh, we can't do anything without Robert Downey Jr. He's like the straw that stirs the drink. And it's like, man, this actually would have been a really cool opportunity for you guys to like anchor the next phase of the MCU around a villain and make them like the center. And like, I guess they could in theory do it, but it's like, dude's gonna be like 60 soon, and then he's all of a sudden gonna be 70 soon. Like, how much time and like you guys keep pushing back your fucking movies. Like it's taking you longer and longer to make movies, and people are like kind of rejecting your movies. I really think like they need to spend less money on these movies, and they need to come out, I don't want to say like more frequently, but just like more consistently. Like if we got like 2 a year for the next couple of years, I think that'd be good. Like one in the fall, one in the spring. Like I think that would be fine. But like it just says like no confidence to me to bring him back this fast.
Well, I just wanted to say just to your point, and you know, I know it's a little different because it's not like again full MCU, but that's the only MCU movie this year, and look at how well it's doing. I mean, obviously you have to have a quality movie as well. You can't have a Marvel's movie, which I didn't think was terrible, but I didn't think was particularly great. You obviously have to have a quality movie, but yeah, I mean, certainly the number of films coming out, I really think like 2 a year at the absolute most, and even that, you know, I think is a stretch.
Isn't that what
at
they were
times.
doing though before? Like
they were
steady 2
they
a
were,
year?
and then it became like 3, 4 plus the TV shows.
But they were good though. Like, well, the TV shows came after Infinity War, but I remember the last year or two, all that momentum, they were throwing out bangers. They were throwing out $1 billion, you know, they weren't making $1 billion, but they earned it at the box office, right?
Right. We'll see though.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see as long as there's a good story behind it and they keep close to the character and make it believable, then it'll be good.
Also, here's a really good opportunity to remind listeners that like you really shouldn't care what $1 billion company does to make its next $1 billion. Like,
yeah,
I hope it's good, but like, man, I just don't fucking care how Disney decides to like make its money. I really don't.
Right.
Like, and you shouldn't either. It's gonna be fine.
No, this is the
Whether
same company.
whether it's good or not, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay.
This is the same company with Pixar and its animated movies, where they came out last year and said they're going to focus more on sequels to existing franchises instead of movies that connect with people because they don't sell enough, which I guess I get from like a business perspective, but at the same time, do we really need a Toy Story 5, 6, and 7?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Then Inside Out 2 came and made like $1 billion.
Sure.
So like it's like
Sure.
fuck. Like,
So,
which sucks because like I don't know, Encanto is decent. You know, like I had a good time with that. Like I haven't disliked any Pixar movie from the past couple years that like I've watched with my niece. You know, we both have a good time when we watch it. And I'm sure Inside Out 2, when I finally see that, will be good. But
90s
like
and early
stuff.
2000s was amazing. I mean, that's
Yeah,
when
but
we got our first. What?
It's like, but Coco was really good, man. And like, it sounds like under like the new management style, like we're just not going to get a fucking Coco. And it's like, we might get a Coco 2, but we're not going to get the next Coco. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll just say this briefly on the MCU. I have very little confidence in Cat 4 with how many reshoots and problems that movie went through. And, but I will say the Fantastic Four I am looking forward to. Seth, I know you said you think it might be too soon. I mean, depends how they play it off plot-wise, but I will say this. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer that they played at Comic-Con that leaked online. It looks very, very good in my opinion. So it at least looks like a different MCU movie.
Also,
So,
Vanessa
going back
Kirby
to-
is one of the hottest women on the planet. So pretty excited for that. I'm glad they're continuing the tradition of casting the then hottest woman on the planet like Jessica Alba. So
Let me just take a look at that.
I had the biggest crush on Jessica Alba when I was a child because of Fantastic
Yeah, I
Four.
still do.
yeah, dude, between that and her time on Entourage, yeah, what a time.
Daisy Fuentes for me.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're saying about Captain America, I think maybe those reshoots that was before they got the guys that did the original Avengers. So maybe they had changed the story up. So that's why they kind of switched that up also to kind of lead into something. Now, let me ask you this. If it's going to go to a Secret Wars, is it the 80s Secret Wars or is it the more recent?
It's definitely the new one.
That sucks. I got so excited when they announced Secret Wars because I thought it was going to be the 80s one. I'm like, that's such a great idea. And then it was clearly going to be like the John Hickman, Assad Ribic. And I'm like, man, can we just fucking leave this multiverse shit alone? Like, I really do think it's starting to make things not matter. Where it is like, again, I don't give a shit about that Logan movie, but it's like, oh, well, don't worry. We'll just find another one. We'll just find another Logan. It's okay. Don't worry about it. This one has nothing. Guess he's going to fit in here where we don't have a Logan. It's
Okay.
like, all right.
Hold on a second, because this has been my criticism of comic books for the last forever since I've known you, and you've immediately disregarded that criticism.
It's different in comic books. No, it's different in comics than it is in movies. No, it is. No, it's different in comics than it is in movies.
Excuse me? How?
Because comics aren't fucking real. Like they're fake little cartoon places. They're fake little cartoon worlds.
Movies aren't real, George.
I know, but like they're played by real people. Like I do think there's a distinction. Fuck off. No, there is a distinction where it's just like how many times, especially like all this de-aging shit, where it's like, no, like my favorite part about The Dark Knight Rises is that Batman stops being Batman. I think that is fucking sick. They set up a world where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going to be the next Batman. We never got that. I'm glad we didn't get it. I don't care. But like the fact that like there was an ending and the fact that like actors could age meant that there was going to be an ending to this. I thought Chris Evans stepped away because he was like, I'm getting too old for this shit. I thought Robert Downey Jr. stepped away because he was getting too old for this shit. But with like this face technology where we have like a 19-year-old Carrie Fisher being like Hope at the end of Rogue One, it's just like, all right, it's like, I guess we're just gonna tell the same fucking stories forever with the same people. I think in movies, it's okay to like shut the book and just have like one definitive universe. I think it is sick in comic books when all of a sudden like an evil Superman shows up because it's a cartoon world and that's fine in cartoons. But when it's like supposed to be
your
like
argument glass then at best.
All right, well, I'll write a 8-page essay on why I'm right and you're hot but stupid for next week.
I will say this, though, just to your point,
I'm sorry I
George.
said that. I love you so much.
Just to your point, George, like it takes far longer to make a movie than it does to like release a comic book. So they've got more flexibility when it comes to those, in my opinion, just to do whatever they want. But no, I do agree with you. Like it would be nice to have some real stakes in the MCU, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe we should just kill Wolverine again in the comic books and see how long it takes for him to come back. There's some real stakes.
Probably not going to sell the franchise, so I don't think they need to do that again. Also, I got to be honest, multiversal storytelling, I'm way more forgiving of it with DC than I am with Marvel. Marvel, I find it pretty annoying in the comics too, but I think it is better in the comics than it is in the movies. Because it really does make it feel like it doesn't matter. Like, how cool, like, it was super cool, right? Seeing Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt and Charlie Xavier back in Multiverse of Madness, and they just got fucking domed in the first, like, 3 minutes we saw them. So it's like, all right, this doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. I get that, like, oh, it pumps up Scarlet Witch. She's, like, a multiversal threat. But, like, that's just really hollow and just kind of makes them seem like paper cups, you know, like they just get blown over in the wind. So it's like,
I actually completely forgot about that movie.
I
Yeah,
think
Like that movie from my memory.
I think our only hope is Secret Wars happens. They hopefully do what they do in the comics and just collide these, you know, the X-Men and MCU universes or whatever they end up doing and make this singular universe, and then just don't do any of that crap again.
Yeah, it's crazy because in the comics they collided the Ultimate Universe with the 616 universe, and then 2 years later immediately revived it.
Yeah.
So.
No, they'll do that.
They did.
It was 4 years later. It was in the Venom book where the maker. It was 4 years later, which is forever in comics. And then the maker went back, and then they didn't do anything with that world whatsoever. And then they pretended that never happened. Donny Cates was in like a really bad car accident where he actually like lost huge like chunks of his memory. And so, like, that's why he's, like, not really writing a lot of Marvel books anymore. Like, the guy who was writing that Venom book that was fucking sick and was, like, writing...
Cates book was really good.
Yeah.
And, like, was writing Thor, and, like, that Thor book was really good, too. And then he just, like, stopped writing because he had to, like, recover and do, like, physical therapy and, like, mental exercises and stuff. And so I think he had plans for the Ultimate Universe that he didn't get to do because he was in recovery. And the current Ultimate book is... good, but like it turns out the maker was like a prisoner on 616 and then like took years to plan his escape and then basically became god for this new universe. And it's really fucking good, man.
Why is Kraven not getting any love right now? That's at the end of the year.
I forgot that movie was coming out.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Madam Web yet. I own it on 4K, and I like, oh shit, I do own that movie.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and Craven's lame. No one like I'm so tired of Craven. Like, oh, he had one good story, The Last Hunt, right? That was it.
That book rules, but you're right. That is the only good Craven story. Like even the Ultimate Universe Craven sucked, where he was like a reality star doing all that shit like that. Like made sense for the time, but that was not good. You know,
I'll never forget when he revealed himself as the Scarlet Spider like 10 years ago, or however long ago that was, and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, what did you think of him in Spider-Man 2?
Remember Kraven in Spider-Man 2?
The video
game.
Oh, you were talking about the movie. I was like, he was fine.
I just wish the movie. I wish the game would have been about Kraven. Like I enjoyed all those levels. I enjoyed doing those side missions with him. Right, if you could call them side missions, but.
That is one of the cooler displays of Kraven in the past couple years. Because like Nick Spencer tried to set up like this arc called Hunted during his run, which like started off super strong and then just went on way too long. And then like set up his daughter, which I didn't know he had, like that bald chick, right, Seth?
Oh.
I don't know, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. The Nick Spencer run is where I dipped out. I was like, all right, I'm done.
I wanted to say quickly, just to go back to what initially brought this up, Coach, you asked about the movie. What are they doing? What is Sony doing with the Spider-Man universe? Like they've got the good Spider-Man movies. Why did they decide to make a freaking Morbius and Madam Web?
I think they have to keep the rights.
Make a good one. Why are we making this trash? What is going on over there? You know, I mean, they consistently screwed it up.
I stand by the first Venom movie. I haven't seen the second Venom movie. I stand by the first one. The first one feels like one of these Fox movies, and that was actually like what should have been a gross moment at the end of Wolverine and Deadpool. Look at me bringing it back just before we call this sucker.
Here we go.
But like during the end credits, when it was like Green Day's "Time of Your Life" was playing. Like that seemed really sweet and everything, but also like that's exactly what Seinfeld did for their last episode. It was like just a bunch of behind the scenes footage set to Green Day's "Time of Your Life." And like again, I wanted it to be like, oh, this is so gross. Like they're even copying someone else's idea of like sentimentality. But man, I was so nostalgic for that era because for the longest time, that was all we had was like the Elektra movie, the Daredevil movie, the Ang Lee's Hulk shit. And like I learned to love those movies because it was all we had. I was like, yeah, like it was pretty good for XYZ. I wish they did this different. And then like we got the MCU, which honestly, I think the biggest criticism I have of the MCU now, it feels like fans are writing it. And I kind of just want like professionals to do it and like tell me a story, whether I like it or not. But like it's starting to feel like fan fiction. And I know every movie is fucking fan fiction and every comic book is fan fiction. But like it feels lesser. And Deadpool did such a good job of feeling like a professional movie made by professionals, even to Kyle's point, where they were playing fast and loose with the rules of time travel, and they were playing fast and loose. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy upstairs. They were playing fast and loose with time travel, with multiversal travel.
I know that took me by surprise too. I was like, "Who the fuck is Kyle?"
I'm sorry, Coach. Kyle, Coach the Kyle Newman. My bad.
Sorry.
All right. I used his fucking name. Like, what are we talking about?
We've never done that.
Hold on. Watch this. To David's point.
Who's David?
Me?
You're David?
David Kyle.
You didn't know that?
No, I thought your first name was Kyle.
No.
Yeah.
My son's a junior, so he goes by David and I go by Kyle, but yeah.
That's actually a piece of Coach trivia that unless you had said that, Austin, I wouldn't have remembered like ever. That was that I don't remember that at all.
I'm sorry I derailed that. Yeah, that was worth it though. That was worth it. I don't even know what you were saying, George. I'm sorry.
I forgot what I was saying too. I think this seems like a good place to wrap it. Also, do you want to just go by Coach? Or I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel comfortable with, George. It's fun. Good.
No, that's not how names work. It's whatever you feel comfortable with, big dog. It's okay.
That was good. Holy shit.
Well, on that note, let's wrap it up there, guys. Thank you for joining us, those who've been listening, watching on YouTube. We've missed doing the show and should be back here weekly on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, depending on the week. So we'll keep you guys updated on Twitter and everything. And in the meantime, David, have a good rest of your night.
Hey, you too, Kyle.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Frameskip. Don't forget you can find the show on social media at frameskippod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us each individually on Twitter. George is at Shortbox Summary, Seth is at Seth the 90s Kid, and I, Austin Eller, am at Austin J. Eller on Twitter. If you've got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to hear discussed on the next episode of Frameskip, you can do so by submitting it to us on social media. Email us at frameskippodcast@gmail.com or visit bit.ly/frameskipq. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. The show is typically live on YouTube every week, either on Tuesday or Wednesday. You can find our YouTube channel at bit.ly/frameskiplive. Don't forget to subscribe and be notified when we do go live, typically at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.